Ahoy and welcome back to another video and Happy New Year. This is my favorite games of December video. Normally I post these videos as a way to help myself build my Game of the Year list, but since I already posted that video and we're in January now, I figured why not let it slip a few more days and just kind of pair it with a favorite games of December plus games looking forward to in 2026. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with the games I've been playing and go into the games I'm looking forward to playing in this new year. So for December, only game that came out this month that I've been playing, and kind of the winner by default of my favorite game of the month, is Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4 is a game that overall I enjoyed, but I enjoyed it more because of the great mechanics and the gameplay that was established in like Metroid Prime 1, especially the Metroid Prime 1 remaster with the updated control scheme. I think playing Metroid Prime 4 is very fun, and I think it performed very well. It looked very nice. My big problems were with the structure. Level design was too linear in my opinion. While there were a couple cool moments and like the environments looked very nice, I didn't really enjoy exploring the levels because there wasn't really much levels to explore. Wasn't much exploration to be had in the levels themselves. I've gone into this on like 3 other videos by now, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. But basically, TLDR is Metroid Prime 4. I baseline enjoyed it, but considering how hyped I was for it and how I expected this to be like a top 3, top 5 game of the year for me, that gulf of disparity of like what I want it to be and what it was makes it probably the most disappointing game of the year for me. Even though I think it's a fine game, I was just expecting it to be a great game. So yeah, by default, it kind of wins the game of the month because it's the only game I played that came out this month. But I did play a few other games that did not come out in during December, that I enjoyed much more. I think the first one I'll talk about is the one I've kind of been binging the last few days, and that's Dispatch. Dispatch is a game, I believe, made by former Telltale devs, and this is a superhero workplace comedy kind of game where I won't go into spoilers of the whole story, but you're a character who's a former superhero, and you have a job at this company that you are in charge of dispatching heroes to help solve crimes. So you're sitting there behind a desk, and your characters have certain powers and abilities and strengths and weaknesses, and you're sending them to different spots to take on crimes. And throughout that, you're making story decisions and like building relationships with the characters and stuff. And I thought it was a great experience. It's separated into 8 1-hour episodes, so you can kind of enjoy it as like a TV show. The actual gameplay of it is pretty minimal. I would say 2/3 of the time you're kind of just watching and enjoying the show. About 1/3 of the time you're making decisions or doing the actual dispatching. The dispatching mini game is maybe a little less than half of each chapter. There's it'll start with story, you'll do some dispatching, and then it'll end with story. I thought it was really good. This game was released episodically, so I think it'd been a fun experience to play it like that, because there were a couple like cliffhangers it left on at the end of certain chapters. So I think playing it like that could have been interesting. I just played it, all the way through. I just binged it. I loved it. It probably would have been in my top 10 had I finished it before I made that top 10 video. But yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. If it's like, I wouldn't call it like vulgar humor, but it definitely is like, an adult superhero show. So there's stuff in there that like you wouldn't have on in front of your kids. But I thought it was a great time. I loved it. I cannot wait for a expected season 2. I assume there will be a season 2 to follow this up, and I'll be there probably from day 1 for that one, and try to enjoy it as it comes out next time. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for Dispatch. Another game I played, I finished Ghost of Yote. Ghost of Yote was kind of a slow burn for me. It came out in October, and I had been like putting a couple hours here and there like every weekend when I could, but I wasn't really getting the ball rolling very much until December. I had a lot more free time. I put a bunch of hours into it. I got the Platinum Trophy. I did everything. I thought it was a very good game. It felt to me very similar to Ghost of Tsushima, which I guess was kind of the promise there. It's another Ghost of Tsushima. I do think it had some interesting improvements. So in Ghost of Tsushima, you had stances with your swords, different like sword stances that were like that satisfied the rock paper scissors of like the enemy sword stances. In this game, you had different weapons. Who basically the same mechanic. You went from switching stances to switching weapons. But at the end of the day, you're playing that rock paper scissors, meta game within the combat. I think the weapons is just like a more fun version of that, more interesting version of that. So I think that's a plus. The story, I don't think it ended quite as highly as Ghost of Tsushima did. I think Ghost of Tsushima had like, for me, like an all-timer ending. I really loved the ending of that game and how much drama like filled the very end of that game. I think Ghost of Yotei had a bit of a somewhat I don't want to say expected or played out, but it was a typical revenge story. I feel like the end of it wasn't super surprising in any way. There was a couple smaller surprises mixed in that ending, but I think the overall resolution of the ending was pretty predictable. Not a bad thing necessarily. Just didn't get me like Ghost of Tsushima did. Exploring the world was great. Instead of one big map, it's now separated into like a big map and then smaller, denser maps throughout. That the denser maps basically all serve a different region or like almost like seasons. Like there's like a very wintry area. There's the coastal area. There's an area that looks very much like fall. So it helps these small dense areas feel like distinct levels, almost like distinct areas entirely, even though they're on one big island. But yeah, it was great. A very pretty game. I played with the Watanabe like lo-fi beats music on the whole time. I thought that was very good. They had like a combat version and an exploring version, so it like made sense thematically. Yeah, very good game. This game was in my top 10 for the year. I think I had it like 5 overall, so obviously enjoyed it a lot. I think it for me, it's kind of like the Mario Galaxy 1, Mario Galaxy 2 thing. I think I enjoy Mario Galaxy 1 more than 2 because it came first, not necessarily because it's better. I think it's the same thing with Tsushima. Like, I think Yotei's probably a better game outside of, like I said, I like the ending of Tsushima better, but overall, I think Yotei's probably a better game than Tsushima, but I like Tsushima more because it came first, and Yotei is kind of more of the same of that game. But still a very good game. If you have a PlayStation 5 and you enjoyed Tsushima, you should eventually find time to play Yotei. I've been playing more Hyrule Warriors. Hyrule Warriors came out in November. Age of Imprisonment. This is a look at what very mild early game Tears of the Kingdom spoilers, but this is a look at what Zelda was doing in the past, like 10,000 years ago, when she gets transported away at the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom. It is a Warriors game, so if you've played a Warriors game, you kind of know what to expect from the basic gameplay. It's a lot of repetitive, going through swarms of enemies. There are some like combos built in to make it feel a little more fun than just mashing one button the whole time. They also add in with the boss enemies, there are like weaknesses and like special attacks to take advantage of when fighting these bosses, so that helps keep it a little more interesting. But overall, the broad gameplay is pretty repetitive. It's a lot of going through swarms of enemies, mashing the Y button, destroying hordes of enemies. But I like it. It's something that's really good for me in like 30-minute bursts. I can't sit down and play this game for like 3 hours. Like some other games I could sit there and play all day. This game, I gotta play it for like 30 minutes, maybe an hour, put it down, and then I'll pick it up on the couch later on, do another 30 minutes. So I've been consuming it in short bursts, getting through it, but I'm really enjoying it. The story's been pretty good. Just getting that extra context, extra detail. And I am one who really does like the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom Zelda games, so any more like experience into that world and just getting any more detail of like the characters and the background, the way things were, and even like the little details like the sound effects of those games, all feel very it's very I enjoy it a lot. I've been playing these games, the Breath of the Wild era Zelda games, for 8 years now, and I think this is like a good last experience of those era of Zelda games. Yeah, so Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, I'm going to keep chipping away at probably over the next month or two. I'm not going to rush to beat it or anything. I think I'm on chapter 4, and I'm trying to do like every challenge, every map, everything, because that's how I did on the original Hyrule Warriors, and I enjoyed it a lot. And then the last game I played this month is actually a smaller game on Steam. It's called And Roger. This is a very, this is a story-focused, very emotional, heartfelt, personal story being told here. So this game, a little forewarning, it does start with a content warning. It is about, generally about dealing with a family member who has dementia, and kind of gamifying that in a thoughtful way, and telling a story about that. So I'm not going to spoil the story or like get into too much detail, but that experience could be a lot for some people if you have personal experience with it. I thought it was pretty thoughtfully done. I thought it was a good time. It only took me about an hour. It's only a few dollars on Steam. It's a very pretty game. The artwork is, it's like very nice. I don't know if it's hand-drawn is the word, but very nice, simple, but pleasing artwork. And the game side of it, I thought was pretty smart in how it incorporated a gameplay into a story like this. But yeah, not going to get into too much details on it. If that sounds like something that would be interesting to you to experience, check it out. I think it's on sale for Steam right now for like $2.99. I think it's normally like $5. But warning, once again, as it does when the game starts, it could be a lot for some people. So just keep that in mind if you're going to check this game out. It's called And Roger on Steam. But yeah, those are the games I played for December. So I only played a handful of games, but I put a lot of time into Yote. I put about 15 hours into Metro Prime 4. Dispatch was like an 8-hour, 10-hour game. So I got a good amount of gameplay in this month, just on a small number of games. But like I mentioned, this is a two-part video. So the second part of the video, I want to talk about some games I'm looking forward to in 2026. So I don't want to go into like detail on every game because that would take way too long. But I think I'm going to highlight 3 games and then maybe shout out a couple more games. For me, luckily, there's not a whole lot of games I'm super looking forward to in 2026, which I would be down for. I'm kind of looking for a lighter year of new releases so I can catch up on old games and maybe play some retro games, check out some more indies. But there's a handful I'm definitely going to check out. The first 2 I'm just going to quick shout out, not go into detail on them, is Soros and Wolverine. For PlayStation. So Soros looks like a spiritual successor and a follow-up to Returnal. It's made by the same team that made Returnal. Looks like a similar gameplay, but a new world and new characters. I really enjoyed Returnal, so I'm looking forward to Soros. And then Wolverine. I mean, I'm just generally a superhero Marvel, DC Comics fan. I'm not like a huge Wolverine guy or anything, but I do enjoy Insomniac's Spider-Man games. So I trust that they'll make a fun experience with Wolverine. But the games I do want to get into a little bit more detail on, I have 3 of those. So we'll start off with RE9, because this is the one that's coming out the soonest. RE9 is coming out at the end of February. It's coming out on all platforms. I will not be checking out on the Switch 2, although I think it's an interesting release for the Switch 2. I'm interested to see how it works. I'll definitely be playing it on my PS5. I'm kind of a new convert to Resident Evil. I played Resident Evil 7 with a couple friends. Back when that first launched, we played it together, co-op one night. I don't remember if we played it all in one night or if it was across 2 nights, but we definitely played a big chunk of it late into the night, early when it first came out. And like I said, I was not a Resident Evil person at that point, so I was like a bit of a scaredy cat. And RE7, I feel like it's a scarier Resident Evil, it being first person, and you're in that house and that creepy family. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it enough to jump into RE8 at launch. I loved RE8. Village was fantastic. I feel like it had a good mix of like the third-person Metroidvania explory stuff, as well as like classic Resident Evil and like scary side of things. So RE8 was I think it was a top 5 game of the year for me, the year that came out. And then I jumped right into Resident Evil 4 remake when that came out, and that game was more of like an action game. It wasn't quite as scary, but it was definitely had some like scary vibes. It was like high on the action side of things. And I feel like RE9, they're kind of telling you this is going to be a bit of both of that. So you have like, I think her name is Grace, the Grace sections, which kind of feels like they want you to play in first person. They want you to be the slow and scary, methodical side of Resident Evil. And then you have the Leon Kennedy sections, which they, seems like they want you to play that in third person. That's going to be the action sequences, and probably not going to be as scary because you're Leon Kennedy and you're going to roundhouse kick everybody. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. I think this game it's going back to Raccoon City. It's my understanding, because they show off the RPD in one of the trailers. It's funny, I don't think I've actually played one that takes place in Raccoon City, because 7, 8, and 4 Remake are all in different places. I know I need to go back and play like RE2 Remake, because that's probably the one that everyone says is like one of the best Resident Evils. I might find time to do that before RE9. I also am more likely, I think I'll just wait for RE9, and then that'll be my reintroduction back into the Resident Evil world of things. But I'm looking forward to it. That'll be a day one for me. Next up, I want to talk about a new entry into the Square Enix list of very silly titled games. We have Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. This is a new HD 2D game they're putting out. They put a demo out for this. I played the demo. I enjoyed it a lot. This is almost like their take on a top-down 2D Zelda. So you play as Elliot, and you have like a sword and a shield. You have bombs. You have arrows, and you're doing very what's the word I'm looking for? Very familiar, like top-down Zelda things. You're going into dungeons. You're getting chests. You're finding like basically heart pieces. They have little, I played the demo a few months ago, but I remember there's like a couple shrines which had like little challenges at the end of the shrine. You get like a reward. I'm really looking forward to this. I am a big fan of top-down 2D Zeldas. I've been playing them my whole life, basically. My first game ever was Oracle of Ages. So I love these games. They're very personal to me. I enjoy them. And we've had obviously Nintendo makes them, and we've had indies make them. I'm excited to see another big publisher dip their toe into it, and Square Enix, with their HD 2D art style that I love, and all these RPGs they're putting out, I think is like that's all I could ask for. It's just like a very pretty game, and they're hitting a genre that I really like, and maybe bringing in some of their own ideas that Nintendo either doesn't want to or just wouldn't think of bringing into those games. So Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales, I really hope it's a good game. I hope it kind of spurs on like a series of Adventures of Elliot games, and we keep getting these top-down 2D Zeldas from Square. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. That'll be another day one for me. I don't think it has a date yet. I'll most likely be playing that on my Switch 2. It just feels like a game that would fit on the Switch 2. But I think it's coming to like Steam and PC and PS5, maybe Xbox. I don't know. But I'll be playing on my Switch 2. And speaking of games I'll be playing on my Switch 2, my most looking forward to game of the year, probably no surprise if you know anything about the games I like, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. My favorite game of all time is Fire Emblem Three Houses. My favorite series of all time is probably Fire Emblem. I've played pretty much all the games that I have access to. I love all the games. I replay a lot of them. They're my jam. I love Fire Emblem. And then Fortune's Weave seems to be either a sequel or a prequel or something in the world of the Three Houses game. So, like I said, Three Houses is my favorite game, so I'm really looking forward to this. I do have a couple like hopes and worries. The game that followed up Three Houses was Engage, and I thought the story of that game was less engaging. I thought the story was, I assume they're going to go back to a more serious story and like a more like thought out world building like they had in Three Houses. I'm not like super worried about that, but I do hope they bring some of the gameplay things that they brought up in Engage, where it makes sense. I thought Engage had some of the best like tactics combat gameplay in any Fire Emblem. It was just really drawn down by like the lack of world building and the characters and the over-designed characters, and like that whole side of things didn't really do it for me. But if they can bring back some of the great combat and gameplay from Engage into the world of Three Houses, I'm super excited about that. I hope that this game is, if I had to write my own fairy tale for this would be one story. I don't necessarily want to have 4 routes again like in Three Houses. I know that adds for replayability, but I think I would like something more like Fire Emblem 10, Radiant Dawn on the Wii, where you have several factions that you play as, but you play as them in one story and they all meet together at the end. I would rather weave back and forth between different stories and different characters and have it culminate in one ending, rather than in Three Houses you pick your group and they all get their different endings, and they all felt satisfying in their own way, but nothing felt super definitive. Like there's one route where you fight what feels like the definitive canon last boss of that world, but I just wish that game had more of a definitive ending. And I'm hoping Fortune's Weave, if it is a prequel, maybe it makes sense to have one ending that leads into Three Houses. It won't be directly leading Three Houses. It's either gonna be like far in the past or in the future, or whatever. I don't know. But I hope it has like one definitive ending where all these characters can contribute, and you can get to know all of them, and have feel like you're doing different routes, but in one playthrough, where you don't have to play the game 4 times. So I'm really excited about it. Once again, this game doesn't have a date. The Three Houses came out, I think it was like in the summer. It was like July, I believe. So I don't know. This would feel like another game that could come out in 6 months. Maybe they're going to do that Nintendo thing they've been doing lately, and they're just going to drop a date on us and it comes out in a month. I don't know. But whenever it comes out, I'll be there. I'll probably buy whatever special edition they release for this. If I could play one game that came out in 2026, it would be this. So, but yeah, that's all I have. Those 3 games, Elliot, Millennium Tales, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, and Resident Evil 9 Requiem, are my most excited games for the year. I'm sure there'll be lots of pop-up stuff that'll excite me throughout the year, but if I had to pick 3 right now, it'd be those. I appreciate everyone watching. If you made it to the end of this, it's been a pretty good 2025 for me. I'll do a little, maybe I'll show the games I've played here on the side of the screen, all the games I beat in 2025. So on the video game side of things, I thought it was a decent year. Some pretty good releases, a lot of releases, and I kept myself busy throughout the year. If anything, I can say I was never bored in 2025 on the video game side of things. So, yeah, I appreciate everyone watching. I hope everyone has a great start to the 2026, and we'll just have to see you next time. So thanks again for watching, and see you next time.